Well, it's time for us now to get into a conversation, and I'm joined by Professor Nzioki Joseph, who is an educationist and also a global leader and actually a lecturer at the Beulah Heights University. That is part of the Daystar University. And we'll be talking about, of course, we'll build up to the story on the lecturer strike. But before we do that, just to lay the ground in terms of how university education is looking in Kenya. Thank you much, Prof. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much. Thank you, John, and thank you for inviting me here today.
Yes.
I have to say, I have to echo the words of the late President John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the U.S. He said the progress of a nation cannot be more swift than the progress of its education, because the human resource is the most fundamental resource for any nation. So when it comes to education, it's something that we have to put a lot of emphasis. It's something that we have to pay a lot of attention, because the progress of our nation is solely dependent on the quality of education within the whole system of our education, within the infrastructure of our education system, because the students that we are educating today are the same students that we are going to rely upon to push the agenda of economic progress, because we are not going to look outside the borders first for the human resource to come and develop the country. We are looking at the human resource that we are producing within our universities, within our colleges. So education is very, very critical, very important, because all the aspirations that we have about economic growth, a better healthcare system, great doctors, great teachers, is dependent on the students that we produce, and also on the quality of our education.
Let's talk about that, because you talk about quality. When it comes to university education in Kenya, of course, there was a time when university was just a few. But over time, you've seen even the creation of what you would say are branches of main university, and of course, the uptake also of private universities. But in terms of quality and access to university education, have we made strides towards that? I have to say, when you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 4 is about quality education, because we need to make sure that we develop young people who have the right skill set, who have the right knowledge, who have the right attitudes, so that they can be able to tackle the challenges of today. Now, in Kenya, I have to say that for the last 20 years, we have made a lot of progress, because I remember after high school, I made a trip to Uganda, and when I got to Kampala, I was welcomed, by a group of young people back then. And then there was a joke around Kampala. There's a university there known as Kampala International University. Yes.
It used to be called Kenyans in Uganda. And the reason why so many Kenyans were flocking in Uganda to pursue their higher education is because in terms of access, we were not doing very well. And that's why maybe from the 80s and the 90s, we have so many Kenyans, and even the 70s, went outside the country in search for better education opportunities, because right here at home, we were not giving those opportunities to our people. But then, since 2002, we have seen an upward growth in terms of our universities. Right now, we have about 79 universities, about maybe 35 public universities, and about 35 private universities, and then university colleges. And I think this year, the 35th private university just got an interim letter of interim authority, that is Consolata International University.
The Catholic university.
Yes. So in terms of building capacity for access, we have made a lot of progress. Now we have to come to the second issue, which is the quality of education that we are offering to our students. It's something we need to think about, because fundamentally, the goal of education is to be able to give the right knowledge, give the right skills. But what we are seeing, in our university system, there's a mismatch between what our students are being taught and the realities of the industry.
The job market.
Yeah, the job market. Okay. Instead of preparing students that are ready for the job market, it's like sometimes we let people go through 4 years of learning and then not prepare them for where they are going to utilize the knowledge and the skills that they're learning within the universities. So I think we need to look at our curriculums because some of them are outdated. Right now, John, we are talking about, artificial intelligence. We have seen the fourth industrial revolution. And we have to ask ourselves, even as educators, when our students come to our universities, are we really preparing them for the job market? Or are we just, letting them go to university for the sake of it? So that is a question that we need to ask ourselves and then work towards making sure that we give our students quality education that matches the job market.
And here comes another headache, our top story today. This is the second week of the lecturer strike in public universities. Tell us from where you sit. How do the strikes affect the very gains you're talking about of quality education? Of course, you say there's sometimes a mismatch, but you can't deny this progress made in terms of even improving the quality of education that we have. But particularly in public universities, what do some of these kind of strikes do?
Well, of course, they have a very negative effect on students because I think during a day I read a story and the headline was, students are idling, in the university campuses. Yes. John, this financial year, the government of Kenya allocated 708 billion towards education. That's about 28% of our budget. And that means that the Kenyan taxpayer is investing a lot towards the education sector. But then the taxpayers need to see the returns on the investment in terms of where the money is going. For example, right now we are talking about the new student funding model. A lot of money is going to be channeled to these universities through the universities fund and also through the higher loans education board. So I think it's imperative that we understand the lecturers strike because the university is as good as the lecturers that are in those universities because for you to get quality education you need great teachers. You need great infrastructure. So we need the government to be able to sit down with the lecturers because I have spent most of my life as a lecturer and I can tell you, you go to other countries, lecturers are paid very well. And as a matter of fact, I have seen so many lecturers being poached, from Kenya to go and teach in places like Qatar or Dubai or other parts of the world. That means we have great lecturers around. And it's important for the government to take these lecturers very serious, have a sit down with them instead of engaging in proxy wars at the expense of the students. And also it's important for the government to realize that they need to remunerate our lecturers well. And then we demand results from them because we are entrusting them with our most fundamental resource, and that is the human resource. So it's important that we don't just see this as a strike, but we see this as something that is affecting our future because the doctors, the students who are in school studying to be doctors, studying to be nurses, studying to be clinicians, they are there and the government is investing a lot of money to train those people. But if they are not in school learning, if the lecturers or rather the tutors are not at the university halls, then our investment is going to go down the drain. So it's important that whoever is concerned And I have seen our CS, Ogaba, addressing that issue. But that was not the right platform to address the lecturer strike. It's important that people learn how to engage, to sit down and have a conversation and solve these issues.
All right.
Yes.
I want us to take a very small breather. But of course, when we come back, the question of how private universities then try to cure some of its problems that you see. It could be the issues of funding, could be issues of strikes, because again, you remember they were on strike last year, probably a period like this, and we'll talk about how private universities are trying to loop into this gap. We're taking a short breather, don't go too far. Welcome back. You're still watching the Prime Edition. We're discussing the status of education in our universities. Having lined out, Professor, in terms of how public universities are faring, do you think private universities are really stepping in to fill the gap, particularly when public universities are confronted by such challenges such as lecturer strikes and inadequate funding?
Yeah, I think the private universities that we have around are providing a very important role. They are, they are playing a very critical role in terms of contributing to the higher education space. Like if you see the history of how private universities emerged in Kenya. You see USIU coming into play in 1973 when there was, a persistence of strikes within our public universities. And, institutions like Daystar University and later on institutions like St. Paul's University and so forth. And also, our students, going to study outside the country. Our private universities, they have the infrastructure. They have the human resource. They have the human capital. But I think that this is not just a question of private versus public. A university is a university. All universities in Kenya have a charter. But John, I want you to understand this. Private universities don't get funding directly from the national government. There's maybe the students, they get loans, to go and study in private universities. The thing is, our public universities are the most funded by the exchequer. So it's not just about, private universities, substituting what public universities are supposed to do or, stepping in for their failures. What we need to make sure is that our public institutions are functioning. The professors in public institutions are well remunerated. They are well motivated because we are spending so much as taxpayers. And also you can imagine, a child that maybe a father or a mother sold a goat in Turkana and then, send them all the way to, for example, University of Nairobi. And that child is not in school. The government is losing, the parent is losing, the taxpayer is losing. So it's important for the government to be very serious about the investment that is it's putting in public universities, because private universities are there. They are doing okay with very minimal resources and providing a basis for quality education. And we see a lot of resources within public institutions. So we need to hold them accountable. And I believe some of it is a governance issue that we need to be able to address so that we ensure that our universities do what they're supposed to do.
All right. I want us to, as we wind up very quickly, I want you to mention, particularly on the subject of equalization. Equalization in the sense that what should regulatory bodies, particularly within the education sector, do to ensure that as you talk about access to education in public universities, there's also access in private universities, or generally the environment around university education is equal for students both in private and public universities.
Thank you. Well, I'll speak from my American experience. Yes. I went to school in the US, and in the US private universities, if a student is an American and they apply to go to a private institution, for example, let's say Harvard, the government provides loans for that particular student, they have an option to be funded by the government, but through a loan, so that they can be able to access that particular education, that particular university, and also get the education that they deserve. So what I can suggest is that the Higher Education Loan Board, they need to increase the amount of loans, because a loan is something you take and then you pay later. It's not like a grant. So what we need to do is to make sure that even a poor kid that wants to access Strathmore University, they can be facilitated either through grants or through a loan, so that they can be able to attend university where they believe they are going to get the best education. Because we cannot just say, public education is for the have-nots. And
that is the general assumption.
Yeah, that's a general assumption.
Public universities is for the have-nots, and privates are for the rich.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, for example, I got a scholarship to go to study at the university, and that means, like, if I did not have that scholarship, most likely I would not have been able to access education in the US. So it's important for the government, the private sector, to provide a mechanism and also to mobilize resources to ensure that if I need to go to Strathmore University, if I need to go to Daystar University, money should not be the factor that makes me decide whether I go to Jomo Kenyatta University or I go to Strathmore University.
All right, quite interesting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Professor Nzioki.
Thank you.
Joseph is an educationist and a lecturer at the Beulah Heights University. Quite an interesting conversation, probably, that we need to escalate in the coming days.
Yeah.
Of course, in light of what is happening in public universities. This is how we put a cap on the Prime Edition interview. Don't go too far. Dorina Range is up next with business. Did I tell you her middle name is Elizabeth?